Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. Before we dive into today's discussion around how to be a better communicator, I just would like to encourage all of our No Days Off Nation that if you like what you're hearing, be it today's episode or any other episode, please share our podcast episodes with your peers, with your friends, with those in business or just in your personal life. Anything that you think may be a benefit, we would greatly appreciate it. We work hard at No Days Off to put together some good content. I think some of it hits and some of it probably not as much, but whatever the case may be, we are only as strong as our audience and our evangelists and those that share all that we work to put together. So I would really appreciate it. It would mean a lot to me and to those that work with me on No Days Off to help us spread the word and continue the movement. On that note, I want to talk about communication. I want to talk about how to be a better communicator. If you are an entrepreneur, as most of our audience happens to be, or if you're in business, or simply if you aspire to have more success in business or in life or wherever, it goes without saying that learning how to communicate at a higher level is a necessity. It's mandatory. And just recently, I came across an article in the Wall Street Journal that piqued my interest around a simple change in terms of how we talk and the use of pronouns that will change the receptiveness of the conversation or what the point you're trying to make with somebody else. What am I talking about? So this article was entitled "The Secret Power of Using We During Difficult Conversations." Now, we is in quotes. So the idea is that those who use we instead of you, again, you in quotes, are more likely to get people to listen to negative feedback, to be more receptive to things, according to some research that was just recently published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology. You could actually take a look at it at sciencedirect.com. This journal put out research around you versus we and how pronoun use shapes the perceptions of receptiveness. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. It is literally as simple as using we instead of you. So in a series of studies, researchers, it was 5 different studies, researchers actually found that the use of you can make someone feel targeted, less likely to engage. So if you say, hey, you could have done X, Y, Z, or maybe you should have considered doing this, or your behavior was such and such. The use of the pronoun you is almost accusatory. It is targeting. And when you do that, it has been proven through this research that someone is much less likely to engage. Now, in contrast, when the study analyzed the use of we as the pronoun, we came across as much more inclusive. It actually led to others being more interested in interacting. We signals receptiveness. It enhances persuasiveness. So one of the 5 studies that were presented in this scientific paper, what it actually did was look at the comments on Reddit, on the online forum known as Reddit, looked at the comments in different discussion groups. And the discussion groups were liberal and they were conservative. And it found that the comments that used you pronouns were censored by moderators at higher rates than those that used we pronouns. So the researchers thought at first maybe it wasn't just about the pronouns. Maybe there was other context there or some other things going on. But when they started boiling it down and doing the analysis, even after controlling for that, the comments that used you pronouns resulted in greater censorship compared to those that used we pronouns. I want you to just think about this. Think about some sort of Reddit forum, a discussion group, and there's comments, and the comments are saying things like you or your versus we or us, right? These we pronouns. When you think about that context, you can kind of see why maybe there was greater censorship around you pronouns than with we pronouns. In a later experiment, there were participants that had to imagine that they were online content moderators and they had the ability to decide whether to remove an opinionated comment about a sensitive issue, a contentious issue. Participants were 3 times as likely to censor comments that used you pronouns compared with those that used we pronouns. Same content, right? Same message, but one used you and seemed more accusatory, and one used we, which seemed more collective, more collaborative. The imagined moderators in the study perceived that the you comments were aggressive and hostile and would lead readers to be less receptive. So using the term we is an aid to persuasion. There was another experiment within this research where participants were asked about their attitudes around lowering the legal drinking age. Each participant read a persuasive speech that was in direct opposition to their stated belief. So if they believed that you shouldn't lower the drinking age, then they read a persuasive speech saying that you should lower the legal drinking age and vice versa. So if you should lower it, you read one that argued against it. If you believed you shouldn't lower it, then you read one that argued for lowering it. So you see what I'm saying? And some of the readings, like some of the actual persuasive speeches, used you, and others used we, right? So, for instance, in one speech that opposed lowering the drinking age, there was a line like, "You shouldn't let your own hesitation about younger drinking age cloud your judgment." And then there was another version of that exact same speech that said, "We shouldn't let our own hesitation about a younger drinking age cloud our judgment." The study found that when people read a pitch that used you pronouns, they were less receptive to the argument. And they were less likely to be persuaded than those who read a nearly identical pitch using we pronouns. So I can keep going through this research, but I think you kind of get the point. We are going to be better received. The research will indicate that as leaders, if we can use we rather than you pronouns, especially during difficult conversations with an employee or a team member, there's going to be a higher likelihood that the employee or team member will be open to the feedback. The same thing holds true for political or other negatively charged interactions. If you seem like you're open-minded, if you seem like an open-minded person, people naturally will aim to reciprocate that. So actually changing a pronoun from you to we can make your audience more open to your message. It's kind of, and what this article was saying was, it's kind of a secret power from a leadership perspective. So the focusing question, I think, for all of us today, where are we using pronouns like you and your in our conversations? Many of us listening, many of the No Days Off Nation are leaders that are likely having personal interactions or conversations with employees or team members. Maybe it's a one-on-one, or maybe within your family. Maybe you're coaching or working with your kids. How often are you using the term you or your? And what kind of response are you getting? I want to challenge you today. Your action item today is, in any conversation that you're having, like the ones I've described, change the terminology or change the pronoun you're using from you to we. What can we do to look at this a little bit differently? What action steps can we take to change the outcome, next time around? How do we feel about this? I know it sounds a little quirky, but try it out today, because the research would indicate that you are much more likely to encounter someone receptive to whatever it is you're trying to share if you just tweak this one word. That's all I have for you today, the No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get after it and to get better, but more so to get after it.